Hello, good evening. It's 10 p.m. Thanks for joining us at News at 10. We're live on TV3 and also on 3FM 92.7. Let's start with the major news highlights of the day. Minister of Finance Ken Ofori-Atta says there was no breach in the transaction of the $2.25 billion bond that was issued by government. Responding to a half-hour motion that was moved by the minority leader last week, he said the issuance was transparent, adding the ministry should rather be praised for making savings of 600 million cedis for the country from the bond. The Youth Employment Agency has deleted some 16,839 ghost names from its payroll following an audit after a detected fraud within the setup. The move is said to have saved the taxpayer more than 20 million cedis. And a member of the Media Coalition Against Galamsey, Ken Ashigbe, has called on government to provide media personnel with security in order to sustain the fight against the menace. Ken Ashigbe emphasized the need for media practitioners to be emboldened following the death of Major Maxwell Mahama. Human rights lawyer Francis Xavier Sosu has appealed the decision of the General Legal Counsel suspending him for 3 years for misconduct. Lawyer Sosu, in his suit, is dissatisfied with and aggrieved by the decision of the General Legal Counsel in respect of a charge of legal fees. Those are our major news highlights. Remember, we're streaming live on our Facebook page and on 3news.com. You can also hear us on the 3FM 92.7. Up next is the big one. Welcome. Now, the Minister of Finance, Ken Ofori-Atta, says there was no breach in the transaction of the $2.25 billion bond that was issued by government. He said its issuance was transparent, adding the ministry should rather be praised for making savings of up to 600 million cedis for the country from the bond. He was responding to a half-hour motion that was moved by the minority leader last week concerning the bond.
On May 31, 2017, the minority leader filed a half-hour motion requesting the finance minister to provide details of the $2.25 billion bond, including its issuance, the participants, utilization of the proceeds, and the currency in which the bond was settled. The minister was in the House Wednesday to respond, but there was near drama when the minister was asked to give his statement. The minority leader wanted the minister to apprise the House with documents before proceeding with his presentation, but the majority leader disagreed. The finance minister in his presentation said there was no breach in issuing the bond, stating the allegation out in the public domain was born out of lack of understanding of the process.
The advantage of opening up to external investors is that they bring in their hard currency to purchase the bonds in our local currency. This has a positive impact of helping to strengthen the city. The high participation of external investors who brought in considerable foreign exchange through their custodian banks has created the false impression to some that it was a US dollar denominated bond.
He said due process was followed and 600 million cedis were saved.
Out of the total amount raised, about 2.5 billion has been used to reprofile the debt and 1.1 billion used to finance the budget. We will continue to use the remaining amount to reprofile the debt term. We have seen a gradual decline in interest rates, and that accounts for the savings that we are going to get.
He dispelled claims that foreign firm Franklin Templeton alone took up 95% of the bond, adding 90% of a 10-year bond issued in November 2016, but the previous government was taken up by foreign firms and that the transaction under him has not changed.
The Ministry of Finance, in the issue of the bonds in question, had no direct dealings with the investors. There were no breaches of integrity, either on government's part or on the joint book runner's part.
Let's now speak with the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee and MP for Ketu North, James Kluche Avedi. He's joining us on the telephone lines now. Honorable, we're grateful for your time. Now, we understand that the minority were not exactly pleased with the answers provided by Ken Ofori-Atta. Why so?
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, good evening to your listeners. Yeah, Stephen, we are not pleased as a minority by the answers provided by the finance minister because if you read carefully the half-hour motion which was filed by the minority leader, we're very categorical and limiting all the discussions that we wanted. The documentation that we wanted should be limited to the 2.25 billion bond which was issued by the minister. Now, we wanted full detailed information, including full complement of documentation, participants who took part in the bond, the utilization of the fund or the proceeds of the bond, and the currency in which the bond was settled. Now, these are the information that we wanted. Now, we know that when the finance minister comes to the House in a form of what he came to do today, definitely he was coming to blow his own horns. So we were actually looking for information. But the majority decided to invite the finance minister, which we oppose, but because of their numbers, they wanted to do whatever they want to do, and they allowed the minister to come and present the statement. Now, if you read the statement carefully, you realize that what we are asking for, he did not provide those information. We're asking for documentation. He didn't provide full documentation on the bond. For instance, the contract between Government of Ghana, and for that matter, the Finance Ministry, and Franklin Templeton was not provided. We wanted the participants in the bond. They didn't provide any name of the participants, apart from Franklin Templeton that we know as a foreign investor who participated. The rest, we don't know anybody because they didn't provide any information. Then he provided information on the currency in which the bond was settled. According to him, the bond was settled in cedis, which is very, very informative because the same minister in his statement continued to say that the bond of 2.2 billion that was issued has increased the international foreign reserve of this country. Now, the question we ask as a minority is that if the bond is settled in Ghana city, how come your international reserve, which is denominated in dollar, has increased?
Honorable, I need to ask you, what difference will it make, really, whether or not the bond is in cedis or in dollars? I'm asking this on the back of the fact that we are in Ghana. So if the currency is cedis and it is quoted as a dollar equivalent, does it really matter?
It matters. Stephen, it matters because, look, we know that Franklin Templeton, which is a U.S. company, will definitely not have access to Ghana cedi. He will only bring dollars. And these dollars will be accepted by government. So what is wrong for minister to say that the bond was settled in dollars? Actually, the bond was settled in dollars. That is why our international reserve has increased. Why is the minister telling us today that the bond was settled in cedis? This is something that we cannot understand. Now, The difference is this. If Franklin Templeton bring dollars and settle the bond in dollars, and government took dollars, government is going to pay the interest in cedi. But listen, Franklin Templeton doesn't need our cedi for anything. So the Franklin Templeton will take the interest of the bond in cedis, hand over this cedi to Bank of Ghana, and take his dollar back. So that is an issue. But if you say the bond is settled in cedis, and that means that Franklin Templeton finds his own way of getting cedi to come and settle the bond. If you pay the interest to Franklin Templeton in cedis, Franklin Templeton must take the cedi away. But that is not the case. So the minister is hiding information from the public, people of Ghana.
And let's also look at the minister's insistence that the government should rather be praised for saving Ghana some 600 million in this bond. Don't you see anything good about it at all? Because when somebody believes strongly that he has saved the country a lot of money, and then another person says, no, I don't think you saved us money, it raises issues of who is telling the truth, really.
I think that the finance minister definitely would come and blow his own horns, and that is exactly what he did. There is nothing to praise the government about this. If this bond is issued and with transparency, where more investors participated. Remember, we asked the minister to give us the participants. He was not able to do it because it was only one foreign company that participated, Franklin Templeton. So our position is that if we have more foreign investors participating in this bond, the interest rates wouldn't have been 19.75%. The interest rate would have been lower, and the money you'll be saving there is so huge that the amount that he is mentioning is nothing to come closer.
Right.
So he shouldn't blow his own horns. He should have provided the full information. Then we would then know the money the government would have been saving.
Right.
But not decided that he's talking about.
Honorable, let's look at previous bonds that were issued under the NDC. I mean, the NDC government issued both local and foreign bonds. Did you at any time in these transactions provide the names of those who participated in the bond at the time?
No, nobody asked for government to provide names of the people who participated. Government would have done that. Because when we are issuing the Eurobond, what we do is to come to Parliament to ask Parliament for approval for indicative terms that we are going to the market. These are the terms we are going to the market with. Look at it and tell us whether we should go ahead or not. Parliament will give us the go-ahead. We'll go to the market, do a roadshow, and then when the bond is concluded and pricing is done, we come back to Parliament and tell Parliament this is the actual. You approve this rate for us, but this is what we got.
Right.
That has been the trend.
Right.
So
Honorable.
in terms of the investors who participated, nobody asked government, and government didn't provide those information.
Right, Honorable, we're grateful extremely for your time. Thank you very much. Honorable James Kluche Avedi is MP for K2 North and Chairman of the Public Accounts Committee. I am Stephen Anti, and you're listening to us live on Facebook and on 3FM 92.7. We have more news for you. Right, let's take you through a couple of things involving the career of the Chief Justice, outgoing Chief Justice Georgina Theodoro Wood. Pretty shortly we will be. She worked with the Ghana Police Service as a Deputy Superintendent and then Public Prosecutor for 3 years, and joined the Judicial Service as District Magistrate in 1974. Then she rose through the ranks to become presiding judge of the appeals court by 1991, and then was appointed to the Supreme Court by President Kufuor in 2012, and then also nominated for the position of Chief Justice in May of 2007. Was appointed, actually, I beg your pardon, by the President Kufuor in 2002, and then 5 years on, she was nominated for the position of Chief Justice, and Parliament approved her nomination just a month after she was nominated. She then assumed office on the 15th of that month, and she was sworn in. She has sworn in 3 presidents since taking over office: John Evans Mills, John Dramani, and Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, in that order. So what legacy really is the Chief Justice leaving behind as she bows out? Some colleagues and friends of the Chief Justice, Georgina Theodoro, would have been sharing with 3FM, with TV3, I beg your pardon, what they think is her legacy.
I think she's one of the longest serving Chief Justices, and she has brought so much improvement and change to the administration of justice. Not only by providing the physical facilities, but also the change of the rules and the rest that are enhanced, and particularly for standing for integrity and trying to uproot the cancer of corruption that we hear whispers about. We can never prove. This time it's been exposed openly, and people have been dealt with to set as an example and a standard for everybody else in the system. I think that's a legacy that she ought to be remembered by.
This is someone who ensured the growth and development of both the judiciary and the judicial service in the 10 years when she was in office. We saw growth in the capacity development of judges. We saw growth in infrastructure for the judicial service and all judges. We saw remarkable things were done, this major decision of telecasting the election petition, it made a great impact on the nation. It made people aware of the judicial system, how it operates. It also gave people an insight to the electoral system. And so these are some of the things she's accomplished.
For a Chief Justice who made sure that the Justice for All program worked as much as humanly possible to free these thousands of persons who had been locked away for years without trial, I think that is a marvelous job. Apart from expanding the frontiers of freedom, yes, we also will talk about improving access to justice in another form. There wasn't proper enforcement of employers' obligation to pay the SNIT contribution. But now with the Saturday SNIT court, employers are hauled there, and on pain of going to prison, they easily pay. During her tenure, that means they did 2 constitutional cases that have also changed the legal landscape in Ghana, specifically the case of the non-billable offenses, which I did. That's Martin Kpebu versus Attorney General. At least this case, to the extent that the Supreme Court has now declared all offenses billable, it's also helping to expand the frontiers of freedom so that we do not unjustly keep persons in custody. And if you meet her up close, you see that she has such a personal passion and empathy for fellow human beings. And that is what defines her.
The Supreme Court has adjourned to June 14 a case brought before it by the Civil and Local Government Staff Association, CLOGSAC, which is seeking the Supreme Court to interpret Article 190, which prevents civil servants to be members of Parliament.
According to Article 190, public servants are not to contest to be members of Parliament unless they resign from active service. Again, the Local Government Act also debars public and civil servants from contesting in district assembly elections. CLOGSAC is of the view both articles infringe on the human rights of civil and public servants. It has already petitioned the Supreme Court for interpretation of Article 190. Again, CLOGSAC is seeking the court to explain as to when should a civil or public servant resign before contesting for a political position. CLOGSAC is of the view the civil or public servant should resign after he or she has won an election. But the Constitution, Article 190, says that a civil or public servant should resign the moment he or she decides to contest for a position. The Supreme Court has adjourned the case to June 14 for ruling.
You're still watching News at 10. We're live from the News Hub here at Adisawe. We'll take a break right shortly. We'll be back. And after years of producing chart-topping songs, sound engineer Joseph Appiah, also known as Quick Action, says it is no more worth it to help others make hits. His last major production was Adole, released in 2013 by Material. But why the disinterest Quick Action has been speaking with Osuwarai.
Welcome. Quick Action has several hit songs to show for his 15 years in the sound engineering business. He was present way before the Ghana-Nigeria collaborations peaked. He produced Tic Tac's Fefe Nefe.
Tony, sing along. Fefe Nefe, not the beauty of a woman.
He is responsible for a number of hits in the mid-2000s.
And I want to say a big thank you to Quick Action, man. One man who has played a major role in my career from the beginning. He supported, most of the hip life acts.
I recorded Sobi Dowa, which won the Mobile Awards for him 2006. I recorded Music Make Me Survive.
The music makes the music man survive.
I did Repatriation.
This might ring a bell. Quick Action mixed and produced that too. In 2012, he managed Material to win the maiden MTN Hitmaker singing competition. He's virtually been inactive after that.
Most of us, supported properly. But at the end of the day, it will turn out like musician trying to turn you down. Those we supported now, they try not to even turn back. Just to say hi self is a problem. It happened to Jesus Christ. The story with the 10 leopards, out of the 10, only one remembered.
All right, so how has the past experience affected you? When you see people who virtually are now starting and they come to you, and they beg you,
Yeah. When it comes to, helping upcoming artists, I've had, very bad experience. It has happened to me a series of times, and I realized that it's not helping me. I'm off with that thing for now. No.
Quick Action wants musicians to show gratitude after their collaborative efforts with sound engineers yield results. He described the engineer-musician partnership as spiritual, noting why he achieved a major success with Samini.
Somebody like Samini, if I close my eyes, I know what I can do for Samini, then he will bounce back to be number one or something. I have him in my palm like this because I can say from my chest that the kind of producers that he's working with, they don't know Samini. Samini is not a dancehall artist. I'll say it and I'll repeat. He's an overall artist. But musically, there's a particular trend that the producers he's working with now, they don't know. Getting up there is not a big deal, but how to maintain your position up there, that is the real deal.
For now, Quick Action is focusing all his attention on recording the audio version of the 1992 Constitution, a project he holds dear to his heart.
Now, I'm doing a Constitution project that needs my attention. You understand?
Right, he's not suggesting that Samini is bouncing back from anywhere. On that beautiful note, that's where we draw the curtains. I'm Stephen Enti. Thank you for making time for News at 10. Please enjoy the rest of our programs. And for those who tuned in to 3FM 92.7, thanks for leaving your dial there. Good night.